Hey guys, this is John, and I'm playing DAG87001. And this is a guy I've played before, so I'm going to be mixing it up against him. I played g6 and bishop g7. And what could we get out of this? Just trying to think if I want to try to steer this into any particular line. You know, I think I'm going to play b6. Let's go for like a double-fianchetto type of setup. If he plays d4, we'll have transposed to a kind of trendy variation. And here I have the option of playing c5, which I will take. Yeah, and this is interesting. I'm curious to see how this game will develop because I don't have any experience in this position. And fianchettos are always topical. It's always cool to fianchetto, right? I think of the games that I remember playing against this guy, and there's been probably 2 games that I've had against him before in the 15-minute pool. I remember that he's played decently, but he takes a lot of time. I think if this is the guy I'm thinking of, there's one game in particular where he spent quite a bit of time in a very drawish position, and I nearly ended up just like flagging him, basically. Like, I was winning on the position, but it was mostly because of his time pressure. So, rook e1. So he's trying to play e4. Knight f6 would be presumably the thing to do against that move. Yeah, not much reason to do anything else. Okay, I'll just play knight f6. I expect him to play knight c3. And if he wants to get e4 in, it's very probable that he'll try to follow up with d4 somewhere too. And we might get like a Maroczy Bind type position. Do I want to play d6 right now? I could also play knight e4 if I wanted to try to impede his plan of playing for e4. But I kind of want to keep the position more complicated, so I don't think I'll do that. Yeah, I won't do that. I'll just play d6. And if e4, I'll play knight bd7. Could play knight c6 too, but the only thing I'll have to watch out for is my bishop being undefended on b7. Okay, here, I think I'll just castle. If bishop b2, I could again play knight e4. So he's taking some measures to play against that. Puts the queen on c2. What if I should mix it up and play knight c6 now? And try to threaten to come into b4 or d4. Huh. Could even play d5 here if I wanted. d5, while unusual, is not a bad way to take advantage of his, I'd say, lackluster play in the opening. Just kind of looks a little strange what he's doing. There's just a lot of good moves to choose from. So my principal candidate moves here are knight c6, d5, and knight bd7, I'd say. I'm going to play one of those 3 moves. I'm very tempted by d5. I'm just thinking like d5, c takes d5, knight takes d5, bishop b2, knight b4. He has to put his queen somewhere awkward at that point. Like queen, I don't know, c1 probably. And then maybe I go knight d7. I just don't think I have much of an advantage per se in that position. But it looks very interesting. So I'm going to buck the trend a little bit and play this move. And we'll see how this develops. He does take it, so I'll take with my knight. I'm expecting bishop b2, and then I'll play knight b4. Because I don't want him just to be able to take on d5 so easily. So that's why I want to do this move. Forces queen somewhat to an awkward square. And then I'm thinking play this knight to d7 so that when he kicks me with a3, this knight can go back to c6. Is my reasoning behind this. So yeah, let's do that. He does play a3. So I will go knight c6. If he moves his knight now, I might play like e5. Something to avoid the dark square bishop exchange is what I'm thinking. Knight e4 might be okay, though. He might want to do that. I wish I could meet knight e4 with e5, but he has knight d6, attacking my light square bishop. Not sure I'm such a huge fan of that. On the other hand, that might not be okay. That might be okay for me. Yeah, I think I might do that. If he plays knight e4, I might play e5. I'm looking at e5, knight d6, bishop a6. My knight is undefended here, but how can he take advantage of it? Knight takes e5 doesn't work. I just take, probably with this knight. Could he do something like b4 maybe? But I'm ready to kick his knight out. Okay, well he played that move, so this might make it easy. I think I will play e5. Maybe he's making his way to the e3 square. No, I think regardless, I think I really like this. Ooh. Could he take with the knight? No, that's not possible at all. That just loses a piece. I'm defending e5 3 times. I was just slightly worried about this pin here for a second. Okay, e5, let's do it. I would just rather play to restrict this bishop and not exchange it for mine. Because if I exchange it, it makes it easier for him to unwind. I feel like I'm the one with the space advantage now, so I don't want to give him unjustified reasons to exchange pieces, or justified reasons to exchange pieces, and from his point of view, unjustified for me. e3, that's weird. Why would you play that, taking away the natural square for your knight? Is he trying to go d4? Because that doesn't seem like it's going to happen anytime soon. I don't know. Kind of baffled by that move. Maybe just rook e8 is a good move for me here. Maybe his plan is just to play d3 next move and set up like a hedgehog position. I could play e4. E4 is interesting. Because what are his options against e4? e4, he takes on g7 with his bishop. I take with my king. He can insert a check, but I'll probably play queen f6. Say we trade queens. I'm a little bit worried my e-pawn could become a weakness, though. No, I'm just going to play rook e8. I expect him to play d3. But this knight is now misplaced. I don't know what his knight is doing on d1. I was really expecting him to play it to e3. And because I feel like his pieces are slightly misplaced, again, I don't really want to go down forcing roads or try to exchange pieces with him. I'm going to bide my time. Probably rook c8 will be next, assuming the position doesn't change much. Knight a5 I have in store, if I can try to get at b3 that way. I'm really tempted to play like knight a5 immediately followed by bishop d5, but I don't want to over press. Let's just go rook c8 first. Because maybe I can go bishop a6 next and attack that d3 pawn. Both of these rook moves that I've played in the past two moves, rook e8 and rook c8, are useful. They're moves that if I look back on this position 5 or 10 moves from now, I'll probably be glad that I played. So, given that I'm slightly down on time, I think it's okay to do this. The position is taking on a more closed character, so there might be some maneuvering coming up. Best to bank the time. I think you should play queen c2. And then, I don't know, try to play his knight out c3 and somehow start unwinding here. Bishop h3. Well, now his knight is undefended on f3. So immediately I look at moves like knight a5, attacking that knight and also hitting the pawn. But he has knight d2 to defend. There's also wacky stuff like knight d4 as well, which also doesn't seem that good though. So knight a5, knight d2. Do I have anything there to hurt him? Don't think so. Bishop a6. Bishop h3 is a really provocative move, but I don't see a way I can punish him for that. f5 maybe? I could just play f5 and block his light square bishop. That doesn't seem right though. What about just knight d4, e takes d4, and then instead of bishop takes f3 that I was looking at the whole time, what about just c takes d4 then? Is that okay? Probably is. Knight d4, e takes d4, c takes d4, so I'm discovered attacking his queen, and I'm also hitting his knight. And there's nowhere his queen can go that will also defend his knight. So let's assume queen g5. Then bishop takes f3. His queen is hanging, so he'd have to take my queen. And I can recapture, and I've won a pawn, haven't I? Knight d4 is a pretty cool move. It's hard to resist that move, now that I've looked at it a little bit. Yeah, I'm going to go for it. I've already used some time here, so I'm going to go for it and see what happens. So the basis of this sacrifice, which is pretty common in Maroczy Bind and Sicilian positions, by the way, usually this would happen with colors reversed, white sacrificing a knight on d5, is the whole basis is my rook lined up with his queen. So that after take and take, I'm discovered attacking it. A lot of times this happens, like imagine this knight was instead on c3. This would still be a good move, because if he takes it, I take with the c pawn, and his knight that hypothetically is on c3 would be pinned. Okay, well, knight d2. Didn't really see that move, to be quite honest. I thought for a moment I had knight e2 check, but then I realized he can just take me. So presumably I'm going to have to move my knight. I can go knight f3 check, and we can swap. But what have I gained from that? Maybe not much. Still, though, I may want to do that. What about bishop h6? Does that keep him under pressure? I sort of like the look of that. Bishop h6. These pieces are just so bottled up. Yeah, let's do bishop h6. So if he takes, I take with my c-pawn. And I'm discovered attacking his queen again. If he goes to b1, his knight on d2 would be hanging. Bishop takes d2. And note that if e takes d4, c takes d4, he cannot play knight c4 because his queen would be hanging. So I'm just trying to keep my knight on d4 for another move or two. I don't know. This move is... It sort of feels like a cheapo to me, in a sense. But I also know he has a real tough time moving in this position. He probably should do something like... I don't know. Queen b1 or something? Knight c3? Again, it's difficult to find a move. And I still have knight f3 check if I need to bail out. I wonder if I can play bishop d5 next. If he does something that doesn't change the position too much. But he will, though. He'll do something to try to get out of this mess. Even if it's something like bishop g2, I could see him playing bishop g2. If bishop g2, I'll probably swap bishops and then move this knight somewhere. Like maybe to f6. Because it is hard for him to escape this e takes d4, c takes d4 discovery. This queen is so poorly placed. I guess he could play queen c4 in that position. So I'm referring to the line bishop g2, bishop takes g2, king takes g2, knight f6. He would have queen c4. And he's probably defending successfully. Catching up a little bit on the clock. That's promising. It's only been one exchange so far. It was on move 10, a pair of pawns. Other than that, we've been very locked up. The position has morphed into like a hedgehog, reversed. Yeah, I think he'll either play a light square bishop move, like bishop g2, or he'll play his queen somewhere. Maybe he'll play knight c3, but knight c3 doesn't really help him, because if knight c3, he still will be hesitant to take, since I can always take back with the pin on the c-file. That theme I was talking about. So I think he's hesitant to do that. I think he's sensing how tough this position is to find a move for white in. He did play knight c3. Okay. So even though I mentioned that I don't think that move helps him much, I still have to figure out what to do myself. No tricks or tactics or anything. What about bishop a6? Ooh, bishop a6 might be worth a shot. It abandons the diagonal, though. He could just play, I don't know, maybe just bishop f1 against that. Or queen b1. Bishop a6, queen b1. F5? How does F5 look? Maybe F5 is decent. Yeah, let's do it. F5 it is. Be aggressive. I'm sick of dealing with bishop takes d7. I don't want to have to think about that anymore. And I think because this bishop is now somewhat shut down on the diagonal, he might move it soon. Okay, queen d1. So now I really should address this knight issue. Knight back to c6 or e6? Why don't we go to c6? So that if he goes bishop g2, I'll play knight f6, and I'll be hitting d3. I'm going to make him work hard for any exchange he wants to get in here. Yeah, now knight f6. Okay, we're approaching like blitz mode. If I can lure his queen back to c2, I'll have that knight d4 move again. Maybe not right away, because if queen c2, knight d4 take, my bishop is undefended. So I couldn't take with the c-pawn. And if queen e2, maybe I have reason to put my bishop on a6 instead. Plays knight c4, okay. Well, I think just queen d7 is good. Knight b5 maybe is his idea. Huh. a6. How about a6? Yeah, a6 trying to go b5. New plan. Almost played queen d7. It didn't quite have me convinced. Okay. Okay, I'll just go b5. Kick the knight back. Still looking for tactics. Like knight d4. Knight d4 is tempting on so many different moves. But in reality, I just have to play fast now. So I'll just go queen d7. Looking to double up. Or play rook cd8, basically. c5 is weaker now that I don't have my pawn on b6, but I don't see a good way for him to attack it. Okay, this allows knight b4. Should I do that? I think I shall. I could also play pawn b4. But no, I think knight b4 is better. And if he takes, I will take on g2 first. Because I don't want to give him a chance to play rook a7. So if a takes b5, bishop takes g2, king takes g2, then a takes b5. And d3 is weak. I don't think a4 was a good idea for him. I would not have played that move. Okay, he takes. I'll just pre-move this. Ooh, actually I'm threatening knight c2 as well. Still though, if he takes, I should probably just take back. I don't know though, he might go rook a5, right? Rook a5 could be an issue. Huh. Is knight c2 worth it? Knight c2, b takes a6, queen a8. No, I'm not going to do it. This rook a5 move was annoying. He didn't play it. e4, how does e4 look? e4 looks pretty strong. Let's just do this first. Attack d3. Try to get him to put a rook on d1. I can swing my queen up to e6 or f7 at some point. I'm still worried about that rook a5 move. Okay, how about just this now? Yeah, he takes. I'll take this way. So I'm hitting b3. That's nice. You can play e4, though. This could get a little weird. I mean, I think I have the advantage over this guy if it gets to a blitz situation. It isn't a blitz situation. But then again, he has like a minute on the clock right now. He's got to play e4, I think. e4 is his only chance. It's something decent. Plays rook a5. I'm just going to go bishop back. If I lose that pawn, so be it. I'll take on b3. This bishop wasn't doing anything on its square anyways. So we'll do this. I think he might have missed his opportunity to play e4. Missed the boat on that just a little bit. Now e4 is a threat from me, isn't it? Yeah, it is. I wonder if rook b7 is at all a good idea for him. If rook b7, I might play bishop f6 just to make sure he can't sack on g7. 2-minute warning coming up. He still has this d3 weakness. This is persisting even into the endgame. Bishop c1, that move looks really passive. Really, really passive. Maybe he didn't know how else to get out of the e4 idea. I guess I'll just put pressure here. Attack the... I use this rook because I want the other rook that's currently on c8 to defend c5. So staying there. So now not only am I threatening his d-pawn, I'm also threatening e4. He couldn't take because he'd lose his rook on d1. So I think there's a good chance I'll win that d-pawn in the next move or two. It's looking probable. Knight back. Okay. So if e4, is he going to play d4? That doesn't work, does it? No. I could also play c4. Nah, but this seems better. Seems more natural. Okay, let's just take. Bishop takes or rook takes. Let's do rook take or bishop takes, I mean. I'm threatening bishop takes f2 now. It's tricky. I'm afraid my pieces are slightly far flung. Maybe I should have played rook takes. King g2 is what he should do now. I'm pretty sure. If king g2, I'll play bishop f6. Okay, he plays that move. Yeah, but now I have bishop c3, right? Huh, maybe not. Ooh, I gotta choose something, so I'll do it. Yeah, bishop c3. If he takes, I don't have to take on d1, because he will win b4 if I do that. I can actually just play queen takes c3. Just recapture. My king is kind of open, though. I'm really worried about that. Okay, here, what about queen c2? What about that? There's got to be other good things, too. But this is the first thing I see, so I'm going to do it. If knight e3, I have rook takes d2, right? Okay. Let's just do it. He could take here on c2. I take his queen. He takes my bishop. Yeah. I guess this move. This is tricky, though. Well, I came out of that with a one piece, but don't think that was forced by any means. Yeah, so I'm just pretty much winning now. All right, so I won. Went up to 23-15. But very close game, very competitive game, down to the end. So let's see that again. So he opened flexibly with knight f3. If you played knight f3 against me last time, I think I played d5 in reply. But this time I just played more flexibly, g6. And then c4. The game sort of morphed into a double-fianchetto. I think the better move for him is probably d4, just trying to occupy the center. Because if he castles, I know castles is like just an absolutely fine move. It's not a mistake. I do get to stake out my fair share of the center with c5. And then here, knight f6. I think this is all fine. d6. I was more expecting him to play e4, because it seemed to me that's what he was trying to do with rook e1 and knight c3. He was trying to get e4 in. And I was probably going to play like knight bd7, and then if d4 takes, and then knight takes. But black has to be somewhat careful here, because common trap, if I were to castle right now, what could white do in reply to take advantage of my last move? You could pause your recording if you want. White to move, what should he do? Okay, the answer is e5, which is a double attack on my knight, and also the bishop on b7. And I believe I just lose material here, because if I take on g2, he takes here in between move, and also attacks the bishop, and e7. And if I were to play, yeah, knight takes e5 or pawn takes e5, probably pawn takes e5 is the best move, I'd say. Then bishop takes b7, take on d4, take on a8, take on c3 probably, and then the bishop can come back, let's say to, I don't know, f3. And I don't think black has enough compensation for the sacrifice material. Like if take and take, black is down 1 point of material. Not quite enough, especially against the pair of bishops. So probably what I would have done in that case is play a move like, I don't know, queen c7 or probably queen c8 actually. But I'm not so convinced about this position. This is looking, usually if you have to play queen c8 to defend that bishop in these Maroczy positions, it's not so good. So I don't know. I don't know what would have been the best move here. Maybe rook b8. Or, yeah, I don't know. Let's see. Queen c8. Okay. Yeah, engine gives an advantage to white. I could deviate. That's true. I could play knight c6 here against e4 if he were to play that. But I kind of had it in my head I was going to put the knight on d7. This way, if d4 happens, then I can take and swap a set of knights and then castle. And e5 isn't a problem anymore. I just take on g2, and if he takes here, I take on f6, hitting his queen. It gives me time to retreat my light square bishop. So that looks like a better option. I didn't really like his b3 and queen c2 plan. It seems kind of artificial. So like I said here, my candidate moves were d5, knight c6, and knight bd7. And I think they all have merits. d5 looked the most interesting to me, so that's why I played it. So take, and then knight takes. Bishop here. Knight b4, trying to inconvenience his queen. And now knight d7. So I don't want my knights to experience coordination problems, and that's why I played knight d7, leaving this square open for the knight to come back to c6. If I play knight c6, as soon as he plays a3, I have to go back here. And that didn't look like that great of a square. d5, I don't think I'd want to go to d5 when he has so many discoveries readily available. I might not be like losing or anything if he does play a discovery here, but it just didn't quite look right to me. So knight d7, he played a3, I dropped the knight back. Yeah, and here I was really expecting knight e4, I think was the main move I was looking at. Trying to exchange the bishops, but using this knight more actively. Then if I want to play e5, I have to allow knight d6. And I was sort of debating the consequences of allowing him to play this move. That would have been interesting if he had played that. But he went back. And this is important. Like, I don't want to just trade bishops. I think if you trade bishops here, it's a slight mistake. Because he gets his queen off the back rank. He relieves a little bit of the tension, which should benefit him because he has less space now. Contrary to a usual, like, hedgehog. White's playing like a hedgehog reversed. And that means he's going to have less space. So I shouldn't trade pieces if I can avoid it. So in a vacuum, trading pieces is probably bad in these setups. So that's why I played e5. Like, yeah, it diminishes the scope of my own bishop, but it stakes out more center space and also decreases his bishop's influence too. So here, okay, so e4 was just good in this position, huh? Yeah, I really should have thought longer about that. It does relegate his knight to the edge of the board. I think I was thinking a little bit too much about trying to trap that knight versus just playing a move like that. Which, yeah, and on second thought, it does look pretty amazing. With that move, I defend e4 and also prepare knight d3, which is a really unpleasant move for him. Somehow it didn't click to me that knight d3 would be like a potential triple fork. And this knight remains bad. Like, he'll always have to be on the lookout for g5 ideas. Okay, this just looks amazing for me. Yeah, so e3 was a pretty significant mistake. I really thought he was going to do this, or play like d3 and then start maneuvering from there. Probably d3 is his best shot. Okay, well, mistake from me to play rook e8. Should have played e4. But what else was I thinking if e4... Was it bishop takes g7? I thought this didn't work. Take here, take on f8, take g2, and then he retreats the bishop somewhere? I think this was the line I was more concerned about, actually. But still knight ce5. Those light squares. Wow. Knight f3, knight d3. Yeah, I should have thought harder about this. I did look at this position in my head. I'm certain about that. And I was like, oh, I'm down the exchange. I don't win anything. But that light square complex, so weak once he loses that light square bishop. So big opportunity missed by me there. Rook e8. Yeah, now we kind of settled into a hedgehog-y position. This is a really interesting move, knight d4. Like I said, it's thematic in these positions when the rook is lined up with the queen on the file. I see f5 is also a good move, as I played a few moves from now. So knight d4, and if he takes it, I take with my c-pawn, and it's a double attack. Here and here. And there's nowhere his queen can move that would defend the knight on f3 at the same time. So that's off the table for him. So he went knight back to d2. The engine says I should just retreat, play knight e6. Fair enough. This move was kind of interesting, though. And again, if he takes it, I take here. And it's another double attack, this time with the other bishop hitting d2. And my rook hitting c1. And importantly, he can't block with the knight because I win his queen. So I'm trying to use my bishops in a long-range capacity right here to really make his life miserable. I think he managed to wriggle free, though, pretty nicely. Queen d1. And now he really is threatening to take my knight, so I should move it. Actually, it's very interesting that the engine says I can just do this here. I wonder why that is. Is that if take bishop takes d2, queen takes d2, and then here. Wow. So that must mean if this knight moves, then the queen is going to come to d5, and he's going to face unsolvable issues on h1. Wow. That's too complicated of a line for me to figure out in that period of time. I'm pretty sure I'm under 5 minutes now. Yeah, I just retreated the knight, but wow, knight f6. So I could let this piece linger even further and gain like fantastic play. It's important to eliminate that knight because I think if I try to do this without eliminating that knight, yeah, knight ce4, he might like block up the diagonal. There's also this pin on my f pawn here. Okay. Huh. So knight back to c6, and then here. But now he should be okay. The computer thinks he's doing all right in this position. Oh, knight a4. I did not see knight a4 in this position. I was about to play queen d7, but I got scared away by knight b5, trying to come into the d6 square. It's interesting how that now that he's pushed my pieces back a little bit, the engine much prefers white. Yeah, his coordination has improved a lot over the past couple moves. Wow, so a6 could have been met by knight a4, and I have trouble defending this. And if I push to b5, he takes on c5, hitting my bishop on b7. And if I play knight d7, he's going to get into d6, I assume. That is a problem right there. I lose at least an exchange. Okay, a6. So there were things missed by us down the stretch here. b5, knight d2. Ah, I had knight d4 again. I missed it. Knight d4, take with the e-pawn. Why didn't I see it here? You see how this idea keeps cropping up, just constantly emerging in this line. So double attack on the queen and the knight. Interesting. So I played queen d7. Yeah, now it's basically a blitz game. I think a4 was a pretty bad move, positionally speaking. Again, I had knight d4. I chose to use the b4 square. I wonder if rook a5 was a good move for him here, though. Looks like it was. He didn't do it, though. What did he play? He played knight f3. I went here. I'm just curious if I kept control over this position decently well. Perhaps not. Rook cd8, the engine likes. Just attacking d3 again. And here I thought he should play e4. This move might have turned the tables, especially with so little time remaining for me. Point is, if I go after this, he can take on f5 or e5. And he's opening my king, and this pawn might be a goner. e4. Yeah, I really felt strongly that this was the time for him to play that move. And same thing if I take. If I take once and then take b3, I would lose e5. So he can just calmly take the pawn on e5. Instead, he chose to play rook a5. I brought the bishop back. He took, I took. And now I still have this lingering pressure on d3, which is probably more meaningful than his pressure on like c5 and e5. So my pieces are really primed to attack d3. Yeah, and down the stretch here, he just used a little bit too much time in defense. His position is tough, but he used a little bit too much clock time. I took with the bishop here. I was threatening bishop takes f2 check with that move, because I'd be discovered attacking his rook on d1, which I would then be attacking twice. I thought he should play king g2. See, the computer says queen a2 is a good reply, trying to trade queens. Yeah, bishop c3. Looks like I actually played it okay down the stretch. Knight e3, take. Passing up some potentially better moves, but rook b2. Okay. It was good I found rook b2, because at first when I got into this position, I thought I was just going to have to take. But he might be able to defend if takes. Like, I looked at like this line briefly, but then he can play rook b7, and I don't have time to take on f2, and because he can just make me rook d8, which is a pretty good move. So I was mildly concerned that I'd have to go into a 4 versus 3 rook endgame, but again, the time makes a lot of this kind of a moot point. But rook b2 is a nice move. And can he save himself? It doesn't look like it. Oh, he has this move. Oh, interesting. I didn't see this one. Rook takes b5 and now knight e7. Fork the king and the rook. Although it must be said that black is a lot better in the resulting position. I have a good pawn structure, solid extra pawn. His knight is kind of sidelined for the moment. I would try to organize an attack on f2. I think I have decent chances to win from here if this were to happen. But he played, what did he do? This, and then I took on b4. Yeah, and he forfeited on time. Okay, so cool game from a Hedgehog standpoint. It's interesting. Like, I tried to set up a Hedgehog at the beginning of this beginning of this game. He didn't oblige, so he set one up himself. And the role of that knight d4 move kept coming up, and it looks like I had that a couple times where it would have been especially strong. So, anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this game, and I'll be back tomorrow with another standard game. Please leave me any feedback in the comments. And as always, thanks for watching, guys. Bye.